Dear colleagues and distinguished guests, I'm glad to welcome all of you at the NEA Youth Session for the NEA Multistakeholder Forum on Sustainable Development Goals. This is a historic moment for the youth to be presented at such a meaningful event, and we are more than thankful for such an opportunity. This session is critical during the hardship we face today, notably the COVID-19 pandemic. Nowadays, the voice of the young generation is becoming more significant in the decision-making process, and the bright ideas that we present here can become the foundation for future cooperation and actions. Every participant of today's youth session is engaged in the implementation of sustainable development goals at both local and global levels. And the virtual NEA Youth Session is an excellent opportunity for us, young people, to know more about sub-regional perspectives and initiatives, learn from different experiences, introduce our solutions aimed at advancing sustainable development, and establish a multicultural dialogue. At this very point, let me introduce the coordinator of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Youth Russia, Ms. Arina Loginova. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Maxim, very much. Dear colleagues, I'm very excited and pleased to welcome you on our first ever Northeastern Asian Youth Session 2021, held as a youth pre-forum for the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific Northeastern Asia Multistakeholder Forum for SDGs. It is a great honor for us as the Senate Russia team to be the focal point of the first youth session. We are very grateful for this opportunity and we did a hard work to organize this session, so I hope that everyone will enjoy it now. I want to say special thanks to our colleagues, youth organizations from Korea, China, Mongolia, and Japan, who were constantly cooperating with us, were patient on our weekly calls, and collaborated in youth statement drafting. So without any doubt, we can say that this forum is a product of our hard teamwork. They will present their organizations and activities today, so I'm looking forward to hear it. I also would like to give a special thanks to youth organizations who will present their solutions on the second session of this forum. We've invited 10 youth-led organizations from 5 countries who have a significant impact in their local communities and make a change toward the SDGs achievement. Maxim already said a couple of words about the agenda of this session. I just want to highlight that the youth session brings together young sustainability leaders and youth-led organizations from 5 countries: Russia, Japan, Korea, China, and Mongolia. And I personally believe that young people do play a significant role in the SDGs achievement by changing the world, adding new patterns that haven't existed before. And this session is a great mechanism and platform to illustrate it. Also, I think that this forum is not just blah, 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 as Greta Thunberg recently said. It's an incredible opportunity for us all to connect, elaborate common solutions, exchange our experiences, and talk about important issues for all of us. As a result of this session, we'll be prepared our common and first ever youth statement, which will be presented at the UN ESCAP forum of higher level. And now, in the beginning of the forum, I just want to encourage you to enjoy and make use of it in a good way, because it was made by young people and for young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Arina. So, dear colleagues, let me introduce the schedule of our today's meeting. We will have 2 sessions. The first session agenda is Youth Understanding of Sustainable Development Goals Implementation and the engagement of youth to foster the Agenda 2030, with the focus on SDGs 4, 5, 13, 14, 15, and 17. During this session, we will be introduced to the status of SDGs implementation in Russia, Japan, Korea, China, and Mongolia, respectively. The stakeholders of each country will discuss their view on what do the youth need for better pursuing the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals. During the second session, we will review the youth solutions to foster the implementation of SDGs. The invited guests and youth-led organizations from Russia, Japan, Korea, China, and Mongolia will be presenting their youth solutions to facilitate world sustainability. I sincerely hope that today's meeting will be productive and valuable, and for us it will be an enormous step forward to cooperate further. And right now, we are ready to start our first session. And the first speaker in the speakers list is the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Youth Russia, Russian Federation. Please show the screen and start your presentation. The floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We are glad to present our view on achieving sustainable development goals in Russia. Russia attaches great importance to sustainable development. Nowadays, measures aimed to implement SDGs in Russia are integrated into national projects and other strategic documents, such as state programs. On this slide, you can see the score, which measures Russia's total progress on achieving all SDGs. It equals approximately 74 out of 100, and spillover score is 80, which means that Russia causes more positive than negative spillover effects. The current dashboard reflects more specific information on the program of each SDGs in Russia. As you can see, the goal number 4 and 1 have already been reached. However, environmentally related goals such as the climate change action, life below water, and life on land need much more attention. As our session is dedicated to the mentioned goals, we will discuss their implementation in detail further, but firstly, let us briefly introduce the organization which we represent. The United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network was created to develop practical solutions for sustainable development. In 2015, SDSN created its official youth initiative to empower young people to create sustainable development solutions. And 1 year later, the SDSN youth branch in Russia was created, and nowadays we develop youth sustainable programs. Recently, we have issued the first edition of the report on youth initiatives to achieve the SDGs in Russia. As you can see on the graph, 37 youth organizations are represented in this report, and speaking about statistics, SDG 12 was the most popular among them. So now my colleague will continue the discussion about the SDGs implementation in Russia.
Thank you, Lenara. I would like to start with the SDG 4, which is about education. Russia has a great progress in achieving SDG 4. As you may see on this slide, 88% of young people in Russia are getting higher education. We can make an assumption that this way was achieved thanks to the free of charge school education. It is primary, secondary, and high school education. In the universities, there is an opportunity to get the full scholarship based on the results of the state graduation exams or on the results of the special contests on the knowledge of the certain subjects conducted by the universities or by the government. The other number that you may see is 60%. Is about the topic of gender equality that also takes place in the education system in Russia. The current data shows that 60% of female citizens are educated. The other number is the percentage of kids who have access to the preschool education. It's also about 50%, it's 66 and 5%. Talking next, we would like to take your attention to the current projects in our educational system. One of them is the project called Circle. It's an educational project aimed at increasing the quality and versatility of school education in the regions of Russia. The other is a special advanced training of young teachers called Teacher for Russia. And the other one is socialization project for vulnerable youth groups, such as Uppsala Circus. Moreover, there is also a number of educational projects for young people on topics such as gender equality and tolerance to appearance. Looking further, we would like to talk a little bit more detailed on SDG 13 that poses great challenges for Russia. You may see on the slide a chart which describes CO2 emissions from fossil fuel combustion and cement production. And due to the increase in climate-related hazard events, adapting to the rapid climate changes, it remains a priority. However, adaptation is even harder to achieve given the vast territory of Russia. For that matter, there is a need for vulnerability assessment and regional strategies to tackle the problems in all regions appropriately and timely. Russian youth ecological organizations are among those who raise awareness about the challenges and achievements faced in sustainable development and policymaking. The other SDG we would like to cover is SDG 14. It also has a significant importance for Russia and its citizens, because Russia is known to have the third longest coastline in the world after Canada and Indonesia. There is in total over 37,000 kilometers. And the United Nations statistics reflect that a few issues that inhibit sustainable use of waters, even though the clean water score counted and provided by United Nations has been stagnating for years, there has been a number of initiatives introduced by private companies and the government. The major problem is that companies engaged in maritime activities seek to maximize their own profit, eventually causing pollution and harming the species. For example, Lukoil observes the principles of zero liquid discharge outlined by the HELCOM, which is Helsinki Commission, for the countries operating on the shelf of the Baltic Sea. The other company, Sakhalin Energy, has ramped up its sustainable efforts when the company relocated the pipeline path, established navigation corridors, limiting the speed of ships in the protection of gray whales and marine mammals. So these efforts often go unnoticed as the majority of companies really pay heed to the recommendations and guidelines issued the NGO and government organization to curb the pollution in the Russian waters. So going next, we would like to speak about the problems that we are facing. Often, attempts to make progress in the SDGs at the country level lead to half-hearted results because the state doesn't always fulfill its role as a mobilizer for all parties, such as NGOs, businesses, etc., which says to us that attempts to make progress in the SDG sphere cannot be that successful. Also, there is no overall federal plan on achieving the national sustainable development goals. Recently, only the decree of the government of the Russian Federation was issued, which states about attracting investments to achieve SDGs. However, they are mainly perceived in the context of environmental problems, but this is obviously not the whole range of issues which should be addressed in the context of sustainable development. The other point is that due to the lack of systematic approach on the SDGs, there is not enough state support and financing. For example, the number of organizations included in SDFN Russia and SDSN Youth Russia is not sufficient compared, for example, with the number of members and the same network in the other countries, where NGOs and organizations which are directly related to the promotion of SDGs are supported by the government. So the solutions to this problem, which we see, is the creation of something similar to the Council for Sustainable Development, which the logo of you may see on the slide now. So this council could be responsible to monitor and support the implementation of the goals on the governmental level. The similar practice was developed in some countries, such as Germany. So basically, we would like to conclude our presentation with this. Thank you for your attention. We hope that the information we have presented will give you the view how the sustainable development goals in Russia have been achieved. And we hope that it was very helpful and interesting for you. we would like to connect with you as well. So you may see our contacts on the slides, such as our email and Instagram. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And the next speaker in the speakers list is representatives of the Republic of Korea. Please welcome to the stage the representatives of Korean Youth Platform on Sustainable Development Goals and Sustainable Development Solutions Network Youth Korea. The floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Hello, I'm Yerim Lee from KIPS, who will be presenting the youth session of the NEA Multistakeholder Forum SDGs. In this presentation, we will introduce the challenges we are facing now and the pro-environmental trend in Korean youth and the activities of KIPS. Led by United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goals are the greatest target of the international community, created based on the slogan of Leave No One Behind. The SDGs provide 17 goals and 169 detailed goals for humanity and the Earth, the 5 areas: human, Earth, prosperity, peace, and partnership. In this presentation, we would like to discuss specifically on SDG 13 and the climate crisis. Goal 13 was set to address the urgent challenges currently posed by the climate change and its impact. The global average temperature is rising, along with the sea level and the rate of carbon dioxide emissions. As you can see from those phenomena, the Earth is currently on the verge of serious crisis, which leads to climate generation inequality. Research predicts that children born today are 7 times more likely to face extreme weather conditions than their grandparents. So what is the Korean youth perception of this current situation? According to the MZ generation, pro-environmental behavior and consumption trends report by the Korean Youth Research Institute, 68.8% of the MZ generation, which encompasses the millennial and Generation Z in Korea, have a positive opinion on eco-friendly campaigns of enterprises. In addition, 74.3% of them recognize that it is essential to establish an eco-friendly policy for future growth and development on company, indicating that the awareness of green movements is gradually increasing. In addition, 71% of the MZ generation answered that they are willing to purchase products from eco-friendly companies. It seems that young people is leading a new trend through value consumption. In order to respond to the climate crisis, young Koreans are also actively engaging in civil society movements. Let's take a look at KIPS activities. KIPS is an acronym for Korea Youth Platform on SDGs. We are an organization that supports youth activities to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Among them, KIPS held a seminar regarding SDG 13 on September 4 to examine factors that adversely affect the marine ecosystem and climate crisis resolution and peace were announced through the presentation suggesting future direction and implication. You can watch the Brent University 2021 video and various events done by Korean Young Activities in SNS. In addition, KIPS participated in the first Future Generation Youth Environment Forum as a representative of the youth generation and discussed with the Korean Minister of Environment to propose policies for sustainable development. We actively strive to achieve the goal of implementing urgent action to respond to climate change and to prevent climate change and its impact. In the future, KIP's activities will keep striving to find solutions to the big and small problems of mankind based on humanism and to achieve the SDGs. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are continuing with the SDSN Youth Korea.
Okay, can you see my slide?
Not yet.
Yerim, please turn off the screen sharing. Yeah, thank you very much. Now we see.
Okay,
Go
thank
ahead.
you. Hello, I'm Min Jung Chae, and it's a really great honor for me to be here on behalf of SDSN Youth Korea, and I'm so glad to share our voices with you today. As SDSN Youth Russia mentioned before, SDSN Youth Korea started based on SDSN launched in 2012 by the UN Secretary General. And Jeffrey de Sauce, who is a world-renowned professor of economics, is the director of SDSN. We as SDSN Youth educate, connect, and support young people who have actively put their effort for sustainable development goals and post-2020. And SDSN Youth Korea is a youth initiative which 8 youth organizations in Korea made to create a sustainable culture in Korea. So about 1,800 young activists from 47 universities and 89 member organizations across the nation have worked together toward SDGs in Korea. And then let's move on to the SDGs in Korea. As SDGs were established by various groups of experts and citizens, the UN has MGOs, which mean major groups and other stakeholders, whose opinions should be considered in decision-making. At first, it started with 9 and recently increased to 13. And children and youth, including Asia as well, are one of the MGOs. But what we should pay attention to is that MGOs were not sufficiently considered in the process of implementing SDGs at the national and the local level. And plus, young people were not considered for the characteristics of a wider range of youth units and could not fully enjoy opportunities to express their opinions. Although it was difficult for the voices of young people to be reflected in society, we attempted to, I think I have a technical issue on PPT slide. Yeah, it's okay. We have attempted to achieve sustainable development goal at the national and local level to meet some needs to deliver the voices of real young people to policy decision makers. So one of the examples is SDGs Korea. So under these goals, what activities are young people doing for a sustainable society? So until now, SDGs Korea has worked with young people in various projects, conferences, and forums. And SDGs Korea Open Working Group was created after the structure of an OWG proposal for sustainable development goals in the UN. And then in September 2019, SDGs Korea OWG began to design a series of principles in line with SDGs suitable for young people at the national and local level. And we developed our mission in 8 open consultations and more than 20 private meetings. And then since SDGs OWG Korea had done its role, it ended at the Korea Youth Joint Declaration in November 2020. The role of it was establishment, and after its constructive dissolution, YPF Korea and YSDA Korea were launched for its implementation. So YPF Korea, which took the function of a high-level political forum on sustainable development, has conducted a policy research and delivered the voices of youth to social and political agencies as a manifesto. And on the other hand, YSDA Korea, which started from Local Sustainability Alliance of Korea, has educated young people and supported them to measure impact as on advocacy and empowerment. So our practical works are remarkable. During the first half of this year, we proposed 9 reports and more than 20 policies. And among them,
sustainable procurement has been selected as one of the 7 innovation tasks of the Ministry of the Interior, and it is in the process of policymaking. And in addition, we have listened to young people and delivered their opinions in events of SDGs and Net Zero hosted by international and governmental agencies in Korea. Then we have collaborated with other generations like Korea Local Government Alliance for Sustainable Development and the Korean Association for Sustainable Development and so on. So in the SDG Youth Committee General Assembly, STS and Youth Korea will urge the enactment of the Framework Act on Sustainable Development to strongly implement SDGs in Korea. So upcoming November 13th, we will declare objectives of YSDGs, which are the raising status of Sustainable Development Committees, quota system for youth members, establishment of a local youth sustainable development, youth-led agendas and its solutions, and the last but not least, reenactment of the Framework Act on Sustainable Development. So please keep your eyes on our footsteps as youth in Korea so far and in the future. And I hope transnational cooperation and collaboration to implement the SDGs not only in Korea, but also in Northeast Asia, such as European Union, African Union, and ASEAN will take place soon. So hoping for the day for cooperation and collaboration, please contact us to make huge steps toward SDGs for youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your bright presentation. And the next speaker in the speakers list is the representatives of the Japan Youth Platform for Sustainability, Japan. The floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Let us start our presentation for other Japan stakeholder from the JIPs. Through this presentation, we're gonna present to you 4 things. The first is what is the JIPs and why we are now standing here. And second, the status of SDGs implementation in Japan, especially from the youth perspective. And thirdly, the youth engagement for the realization of SDGs and the problems that we face throughout this process. And lastly, given the problem we have, what kind of solution and what kind of thing that youth really need to do to better pursue the SDGs. So firstly, what is the JIPs? JIPs stands for the Japan Youth Platform for Sustainability, which is established in 2015 in the pursuit of 2030 agenda. And the main aim of JIPs is to collect the voice of the youth in Japan and convey them to multi-stakeholders such as Japanese government and etc. In short, JIPs is a platform that represents the voices of the youth in cooperation with the youth individual and the youth organization in Japan. And on behalf of Japanese youth, we're gonna make this presentation and we are attempting to do so. The main agenda, the status of SDGs implementation in Japan. Firstly, as for the education and gender issue in regards to SDGs and 4 and 5. In general, as for the gender issue, although the situation is improving, the gender gap of Japan is revealed to be larger than other nations, and Japan is one of the lowest countries in the majority of the nations on the graph, one of the survey shows. And as for the education, although we see high literacy rate in Japan, the current trend here is an increasing emphasis on the ESD, education for sustainable development, so that the future generation will be more interested in the SDGs and the future, so that these people will work hard to realize the sustainable society. That is a general perception or the status that we have in regards to education and gender. And especially from the youth perspective, the following 4 problems is something that deserves much more attention. The first is a fewer number of female students and researchers majoring in science. This is probably happening because of the unconscious biases that we have toward females. And second problem that deserves attention is sexual harassment in the job hunting. One of the survey shows about half of the students who are finding jobs have experienced sexual harassment in the process of applicants or like formally and informally, and that needs urgent solving. A third is the absence of sufficient sexual education, and there's further necessity to secure the sexual and reproductive health and rights. This can be further explained by non-denial project in the section 2. And the last one is that the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic especially impacted on students and the young females, and the increasing suicidal rate of children and the females, and the more likelihood of sexual exploitation in a part-time job is a problem that we have in regards to COVID-19, especially for the youth. That is the status quo on the education and gender. Moving on to the environmental issue, including climate change and biodiversity. In regards to the climate change, the prominent progress that we see in Japan is that former Prime Minister said declared carbon neutral by 2015. But the problem we have is that the concrete way to achieve this carbon neutral has yet to be shown. And there is a lack of backcasting approach to achieve this goal. So therefore, more concrete action and planning will be necessary. And as for the biodiversity in the land and sea, as for the land diversity, we see that almost majority of the forests in Japan are under the legal protection and under the long-term forest management plan. However, as for the marine diversity, marine pollution is now not decreasing under the present situation, and the plastic waste is now threatening the marine ecosystem. And the major problem that we see from the youth perspective in regards to biodiversity is that the significance of biodiversity is not so really recognized by the general public to enough extent. So there's urgent necessity to realize both carbon neutral and coexistence of human and nature. And we need to enlighten citizens in a way that they can understand why biodiversity and climate change is an urgent issue that they have to tackle. And in regards to the SDGs 17, the partnership, on a domestic level, especially for the youth, the seat is not so secured in the VNR process. VNR process is a process to review the SDGs implementation in Japan, a voluntary national review process. And the youth should be recognized as an independent constituency in these kind of processes, but this is not so sufficient to achieve under the present situation. And as for the international cooperation, we see much more cooperation between Japan and African country, politically, economically. However, civil society still points out that ODA to the developing nation is still insufficient. That is the status quo that we have in regards to the partnerships. Now, turn the microphone to the task.
Thank you, Taichi. So next, I would like to elaborate on the engagement of youth in tackling these issues and some of the challenges that we face throughout this process. So first, on to the next slide, please. So first, multiple youth organizations have been closely involved in policy advocacy by submitting multiple proposals to the Japanese government. This includes an SDGs Youth Summit hosted this year by Japanese Youth Platform for Sustainability in June, from which we finalized and submitted a proposal to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Another proposal was made in collaboration with more than 30 youth organizations representing more than 1,000 individual voices to critically assess the gender inequality in Japan. However, our involvement in policy advocacy is not limited to short-term projects, and have been engaged in further actions, such as webinars to educate youth on SDGs, as well as Waffle Camp, which is a programming workshop only for female students to decrease the polarized gender population in the IT industry in particular. Also in tackling climate change, the organization Change Our Next Decade has been conducting research through biodiversity ambassadors in each region of Japan, as well as IRESA, conducting research on energy policies. As impactful as these projects may sound, as you still have been challenged with a number of obstacles through the process. First, not all youth are interested in SDGs, and in fact, those who are disinterested still form the overwhelming majority. As we try to engage with more youth, we've identified that there are three main causes to this. which are lack of understanding towards significance of achieving SDGs, particularly in biodiversity conservation, the feeling of being overwhelmed and being powerless by the scale of the issue in tackling climate change, and third, the reinforced sex role stereotypes by family, community, and the media, which narrows their perspective. This third issue is really unique to the youth, as they are vulnerable to the opinions and thoughts they are exposed to on a daily basis, which they have no control over. And this plays a significant role in forming their sense of values that will stick to them for their entire life. As a result, we experience difficulties in reaching wider youth community. Second, the youth are not still recognized as a constituency, and are disregarded despite the role we will play in the near future. This has been highlighted in multiple cases, such as in voluntary national review meetings, which still do not have seats for the youth, as well as the problem in training teachers, who again play a major role in influencing youth perspective and values. So in light of these problems, we have put together 3 main points that are crucial for the youth to realize the SDGs. First, to foster the better environment and engagement from disinterested youth through more proactive engagement with those who are different backgrounds and tailoring the contents and methods of dissemination for the various target personas, particularly in using SNS. Second, to empower and galvanize the youth through promoting an effectiveness and results of policy advocacy movement and engaging adults in addressing these issues. Third, to increase youth representation by strengthening the connection between youth organization and CSO groups, as well as adapting bottom-up approach in policy advocacy mechanisms. And most importantly, need to advocate for seats for more important meetings. So despite these important obstacles and challenges we face, we're determined to continue making more positive change step by step. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for the presentation made. And the next speaker in the speakers list is the representatives of the Youth Policy Watch Mongolia. The floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now, okay, to see.
Yeah, we see. You may start.
Okay, thank you. Hello. Firstly, I want to thank you all of you guys for you are organizing this whole event voluntarily, and I'm very glad to participate this event, how I'm representing my organization and even my country. So today for session 1, I will introduce about youth participation, general situation for SDG implementation in Mongolia. So these are my PPT. My presentation consists of these 5 parts. First one is my country's background, and second one is state commitments on SDGs and means of implementation, and readiness of SDGs indicators, and challenges of youth regarding their right to education, gender equality, and multi-stakeholder engagement. The last one is youth engagement and contribution to the SDGs implementation. So there is some statistics about ourselves. So Mongolia is a large landmass with a low population of slightly over 3.3 million spread across 1 million square kilometers, bordered by the Russian Federation and the People's Republic of China. Also, it's 31% of population is young people between ages 15 to 34. While traditionally nomadic, the 2020 census shows that the 47% of the population lives in the capital city, Ulaanbaatar, and Mongolia is 99th by its Human Development Index and the 71st by its Gender Inequality Index of 188 countries of the world. Gender inequality is prominent along indicators such as the average life expectancy rate, like labor force participation, employment rate of young people between 15 to 34 is, and the representation in politics at decision-making levels. The poverty rate was estimated at almost 28% in 2018, with the highest rates recorded in rural areas. Mining and other extractive industries played crucial roles in economic growth of Mongolia. Although the economy has grown, high unemployment remains a challenge, especially in rural areas, and inequality has increased. The increase of poverty and unemployment and rising inequality are the major obstacles to our development. So this is the state commitments on SDGs and means of implementation. The National Development Agency is in charge of compliance, planning, and implementation of SDGs with the national policies and programs. National Statistics Office is responsible for the development of methodology to evaluate SDGs implementation and reporting. National Statistics Office, together with UNDP and independently, have accessed 3 times the indicators on assessment completed in October of 2017, concluded that 48% of 244 indicators can be directly processed, and almost 51% are not yet ready to be reported. According to the assessment of National Development Agency, SDG 1, 8, and 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 out of global 17 SDGs and 169 targets are included in the 4 chapters, 44 targets of the Sustainable Development Vision 2030 of Mongolia, while SDG 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 16, and 17 are reflected in the content and principles of SDG Mongolia. Unfortunately, we don't have enough researches and report about implementation of SDGs yet. These are the general measurement. From this graphic, we can see SDG 4 is like 72%, SDG 5 is 57%, SDG 13 is 37, 1 point, SDG 14 is 0, because our decision makers think that we don't have any oceans, so this goal is not related to us directly. But recently there are discussions about under the sea life is not only about oceans, it's about whole ecology system issues. So we hope for our government to consider these issues seriously. Now you can see the challenges of youth regarding the right to education, gender equality, and multi-stakeholder engagement. There is no specific database or research on youth skills and competence. This leads to different barriers to map youth development. Low quality in all levels of education system breeds systemic problem to youth. For example, youth potential is limited by resources in schools, which bring low impact to the society, and competence is not fully advanced in progressive manner for the individuals. Digital, economic, and resource gap is expanding among pupils in rural and urban areas. Even these elements can be seen in vocational training centers and tertiary level. Curriculum and textbooks are generally outdated and content is needed to more contextualize it and sensitize it by needs of learners. Service delivery of quality education is fully complied with needs and requirements from employers, and professionalism is missing broadly in various sectors. This also led to condition to increased level of unemployment and poverty national level. Equity is still lacking in education system. Even integration in all schools are promoted by government to all learners. Differently abled youth is still facing lack of inclusive, accessible, and quality education. For instance, only 66% of children with disabilities are enrolled in public schools. Almost half of youth with inborn disabilities are illiterate. Mindset among teachers are systemically rooted on medical model disability derived from 20th century, along with infrastructure which lacks accessibility. In addition, household income directly affects the youth development, including education. Difference between Ulaanbaatar and rural areas cause more economic and social gaps, such as expensive schools fee and house rent price. Lack of transparency in funding of political parties in current election system is not providing space for youth. After 1992, there are only 3 members below 30 years between 7 elections shows that age discrimination and parallel with discrimination based on social and economic status is limiting right to stand for election and be elected. There are numerous political barriers put by ruling political parties as well. Women and youth are one of depowered and marginalized groups in political spheres. At least they are faced with double standard in addition to economic gaps among candidates. Currently, Mongolian parliament consisted from 13 females and 62 males, and ranked in 107 from 144 countries by World Economic Forum. Also, Mongolia ranked in 105 from 183 countries by youth political participation. Despite the challenges, there are civil society organizations contribute for the SDG implementation. First organization I'm introducing now is the Mongolian Youth Council. Mongolian Youth Council is a non-governmental and national organization that empowers young people to become active citizens and leaders. The MYC was established on November 26th of 2013, and it is made up of 32 representatives from youth NGOs and networks who provide opinions and input on all youth sector activities. Its annual youth forum became youth advocacy space to interact with all counterparts in the field of youth development. In accordance with National Youth Day, 25th of August, MYC initiated and conducted annual youth civil society organizations forum, youth forum from 2015. It became the best example of youth engagement with different stakeholders, including state and non-state actors. In 2021, the annual youth forum was held under the thematic issues of youth education, youth employment, and multi-stakeholder engagement. The recommendation of the youth for become tools to monitor the state's promises on the youth development. The second one is the Youth Policy Watch. Youth Policy Watch NGO's programs scopes directly connected to the SDGs of 4, 5, and 8, 10, and 11, and 17. Of these goals, the related goals of today's meeting is SDG 4, 5, and 17. Regarding SDG 4 and 5, we're working through watch and campaign promises. The project activity runs like monitor on implementation of charters of political parties which has selected parliament and government action plans related to youth and human development issues. Regarding SDG 17, the Youth Policy Watch NGO has been closely partnering with the international and national institutions to improve the youths and human-related issues. Youth Policy Watch has the vision to bring positive changes by creating the partnerships with the government authorities rather than criticizing them. So these are the recommendations from youth CSOs for our decision makers. Implementation of SDGs. First is involve youth as meaningful ways and steps of development, adoption, monitoring, and evaluation of SDGs implementation. Aggregate detailed statistics and data by youth only. Specify data based on youth-to-youth friendly means. And take necessary measurements by government of Mongolia and other duty barriers to ensure equitable and quality education to all as solution against social barriers, especially differently abled youth from low-income households by increasing their enrollment. Develop and implement national strategy on youth employment to consider characteristics of transforming workplaces as well as provide solutions to systemic obstacles against Mongolian youth. Provide broad opportunities of workplaces to assist individual development, improve personal competence with sufficient salary and youth-friendly space. Establish legal environment to provide sustainable workplaces regardless living place, sex, political parties, and power holders, and ensure safe and development space to youth. Increase chance to work in public service without injustice, influence though open and fair competition as well, and career development. So that's all. Thank you for your attention. Feel free to ask any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And the last but not the least speaker during the session 1 is the representatives of China Youth Climate Action Network, the Republic of China. The floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Thank you. So, hello everyone, I'm Alina, staff from the China Youth Climate Action Network, and in short, CYCAN. And here today, I'm going to briefly present on some of the highlights on what have CYCAN and in general, what have the Chinese youth community done to tackle climate change and environmental issues, and hence to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. So first of all, a very brief introduction on who we are and what we do. China Youth Climate Action Network is the China's first nonprofit organization focusing on climate change and youth development in Sustainable Development Goals. Basically, our objective is to empower youth in China and to jointly work towards actualizing Sustainable Development Goals. And as we all know, SDGs are all highly interrelated, and CYCAN have mainly focused on the perspective of climate action, environment, biodiversity, and constructing partnerships to tackle climate issues and environmental issues, which we believe is also on the top agenda of China and also of the world. We care about life on Earth, and we tackle climate change in action. As carbon neutrality and carbon peak have become the major parts of China's strategic plan, youngsters in China and even the entire community in China today are actively participating in taking the initiative and engaging in the actual actions. China is a developing country with a population of more than 1.3 billion and one of the countries that suffer the most from the adverse effects of climate change. At the stage of rapid industrialization and urbanization, we are facing multiple challenges such as economic development, poverty alleviation, improvement of people's livelihood, environmental protection, and the responses to climate issues. So for a long time, China has attached great importance to the issue of climate change. China has fulfilled its commitments on climate change issues by setting practical and effective goals, adopting and strengthening active climate change action policies and measures, implementation of actions and results, such as gradually improving the energy system, improving the laws, increasing carbon sinks, innovating low-carbon development models, advancing the construction of carbon emission trading markets, and improving social participation mechanisms, which have also demonstrated China's active responses. Previously, the Ministry of Environment also issued the interim regulations on the management of carbon emissions trading markets in March 2019, which provided a policy basis and legislative guarantee for the construction and operation of the national carbon markets, and also released a positive contribution to the society. So under the governmental advocacy and the favorable conditions provided, youth of China has been empowered and encouraged to actively participate and make their devotion. In a major campaign of the CYCAN, we interviewed young practitioners and reported on their stories. As early as July last year, the UN issued an invitation to young people around the world, providing more than 100 green tickets funding opportunities to encourage outstanding young leaders who promote climate action and to participate in the Youth Climate Conference held in the UN headquarters in September. And the youth selected to participate in the Youth Summit for free are the Green Tickets Youth. And after the New York Climate Summits in September, CYCAN convened a group of domestic youth volunteers to contact this Green Tickets Youth for interviews and write a Getting Warmer, Being Cooler series story to do further dissemination. This sort of advocacy and storytelling have been significant in raising awareness and creating the amplification effects to achieving SDGs. Also in China, every year we have a group of Green Collar Youth Feast, which is the International Youth Summit on Energy and Climate Change, IYSESCC, initiated by Chinese young people and participated by youth organizations from all around the world. It is an international youth conference pioneered by Chinese young people in the field of energy and climate change, aims to encourage young community to make a difference in the face of global environmental problems and to provide a platform for display and exchanges of achievements made by young people in the green transformation to promote international and domestic dialogues and cooperation among youth society. Since its launch in 2009, it has been successfully held for 11 consecutive sessions with more than 3,000 domestic and foreign young people participating. The topic setting for the previous summits have started from the perspective of youth to train the younger generation to understand the current severe climate issues and at the same time to recognize their roles and functions in participating from diverse geographical, cultural, and professional background. And some of them have aspired to become climate activists, and some of them are still in their early age of some professional exploration, but they have both the potential to become the pillars of climate actions in long term. Besides, our young leaders of the young generations have always been active in the international community through the annual United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference of Parties. Each year, this conference bursts with infinite China's youth power. Since 2009, CYCAN have been leading Chinese youth to follow up negotiations, hold side events, and act together with young people from other countries. CYCAN teaches climate change knowledge, tracks the development of international climate negotiation, and comprehensive skills training for young Chinese leaders. After that, we also lead young group to participate in international climate negotiations, analyze the results of negotiations, and initiate global joint actions to be more professional. We speak out for the voice of the Chinese young group and assume that responsibility of world youngsters community. And speaking of our CYCAN COPE Young delegation, as a member of the Young Go, we are directly under the jurisdiction of the Secretariat, and it will be active in the COPE meeting process and exert its unique youth power. We believe that the globalized perspective and concrete actions taken will be of utmost importance in the actualization of sustainable development. Facing the complex situations nowadays, problems are associated and deep-rooted, and the solutions and plan oftentimes face the challenges of dilemma between current development and the future sustainability. So what kind of future do we want, and what kind of new consensus between man and nature do we need? In China, many young people are stepping forward to participate in this change, in pushing forward these changes and showing their ambitions. A sustainable world will require the real innovation and changes. We believe that young people will create a more sustainable future in continuing to work hard towards it. And I hope you do the same. And this comes to the end of my presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of your presentations. So right now, let us have a little break for 15 minutes, and we will reconvene in 15 minutes, namely 4:20 p.m. Seoul, Tokyo time. So one more time, thank you very much, and let's have a rest. See you in 15 minutes.
When my love, that heart is so cold, all over my own. I don't wanna know that, babe. Don't. When my love, I told her she knows. Take aim and reload. I don't wanna know that, babe. Don't. When my love, that heart is so cold, all over my own. I don't wanna know that, babe. She knows, take aim and reload. I don't wanna know that, babe. I drew a broken heart right on your window pane. Waited for your reply here in the pouring rain. Just breathe against the glass. Leave me some kind of sign. I know the hurt won't pass, yeah. Just tell me it's not the end of the line. understand. If you did, all you have to say is yeah, 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 yeah. I'm waiting for ya. Yeah, 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 yeah. I never meant to break your heart. And I won't let this plane go down. I never meant to make you cry. I'll do what it takes to make this fly. Oh, you gotta hold on to what you're feeling. That feeling is the best thing, alright. I'm gonna place my bet on us. I know this love is heading in the same direction as us. I tell myself you don't mean nothing. What we got no hold on me. But when you're not there, I just crumble. I tell myself I don't care that much, but I feel like I die till I feel your touch. Only love can hurt like this. Only love can hurt like this. Must have been a deadly kiss. Only love can hurt like this. Say I wouldn't care if you walked away, but every time you're there, I'm begging you to stay. When you come close, I just tremble. And every time you go, it's like a knife that cuts right to my soul. Only love can hurt like this. Only love can hurt like this. Must have been a deadly kiss. Only love can hurt like this. Only love can hurt like this. Your kiss is burning to my skin. Only love can hurt like this. But it's the sweetest pain, burning hot through my veins. Love is torture, makes me more sure. Only love can hurt like this. Only love can hurt like this. Only love can hurt like this. Must have been a deadly kiss. Only spend all my money, bought a big old fancy car for these bright-eyed honeys. Oh yeah, you know who you are. Keep me up till the sun is high, till the birds start calling my name. I'm addicted and I don't know why. Guess I've always been this way. All these roads steer me wrong, but I still drive them all night long, all night long. All you young wild girls, you make a mess of me. Yeah, you young wild girls, you'll be the death of me, the death of me. All you young wild girls, no matter what you do. Yeah, you young wild girls, I always come back to you, come back to you. I get lost under these lights, I get lost in the words I say, start believing my own lies, like everything will be okay. Oh, I still dream of a simple life. Boy meets girl, makes her his wife. But love don't exist when you live like this, that much I know. Yes, I know. All these roads steer me wrong, but I still drive them all night long, all night long. All you young wild girls, you make a mess of me. Yeah, you young wild girls, you'll be the death of me, the death of me. All you young wild girls, no matter what you do. Yeah, you young wild girls, I always come back to you, come back to you.
Dear colleagues, we are ready to come back. So let me announce the beginning of the second session and frames of the 2021 NEA Youth Session on Sustainable Development Goals. So during the first session, you heard the presentation from the stakeholder organizations on the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals in our respective countries, namely Russia, Korea, Japan, China, Mongolia. So right now we are ready to start the session number 2. During the second session, you will be hearing the presentations of the youth solutions elaborated by different youth-led organizations to foster the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals in their respective countries. So we will hear for 2 organizations per country. So in general, there will be 10 youth solutions presented during the second session of our forum. So I truly hope that you will find these solutions very exciting, very valuable and productive in our further work. And I'm glad to announce the second session started. And the first speaker in the speakers list is a representative of the organization called MGIMO Goes Green, Russian Federation. The floor is yours for 7 minutes.
Thank you. Just a minute. I'm very happy to see everyone tomorrow, and very happy to share and to exchange our solutions. Today I would like to present some solutions from Gimogos Green. Gimogos Green. My name is Ekaterina Novikova. I'm advisor of the president of the Gimogos Green, and today I would like to share with you some our experience and to first of all, Gimogos Green, it's a university environmental organization and community. We was organized in 2011, and so we now we celebrate 10 years. And first, of course, we work with the SDG 4th and SDG 17, but also we work a lot with SDG 11. Now, I try to I would like to highlight some principles that help us to work so long time and to have some some achievements in this in Russia. First of all, we are usually use and we would like to have practical issues. To do practical issues, we focus on practice from one side, and our focus is the science. We are a scientific organization and a part of university scientific association. So we unified these two forms to achieve benefits and to achieve solutions for SDG. The second, it's creativity and openness. We are very open for different ideas, and every person who can come to us and with his or her idea, and we help them to realize it. There's of course we have some key events and key activities, key projects, but we are very happy to see new projects and to collaborate with other person and organization. The second, it's equality and democracy, and we change our chairmanship every year, and our board are very flexible. So it's our principle, because we think that new people can create new ideas and realize new projects, and it's the idea of diversity. And the other thing that, as you see, the gender percentage in our organization is about 60 or 70 for female, and 30-40 for male, and we are always try to organize our management in with two person. Sometimes we have a co-president, or we have president and vice president, and it helps us to be more flexible and more open to other ideas. Of course, management of person is quite difficult too, because sometimes we have some conflicts, but it will be very, very useful to hear other person if you have to like so-called management system. So that we of course we are focused on person and on team. We are very happy that the main value, one of the main important value for us, it's a team and teamwork. And of course the main idea, and I'm like a foreign further partnership manager of the organization. I'm very, very happy that we are focused on partnership, and it's very important for us. So we are ready to contact with you and to think about cooperative project. And one more thing that I forget that I did this presentation is mentoring. We have a mentoring program, and our young team members can have access to the alumni of our organization, and then can share their experience and ask questions, have some support. So I think that mentoring is very important for youth organization. So what about solutions? You may see a lot of projects. There are different projects in like practical, but I would like to start with scientific projects like research. And for example, we have already finished in 1 week. We have already just finished our analytical project for COP 26. It is a project with our government. So the second that I would like to mention is translation for SDG documents and guides, because there are not much more people knew English in Russia, and it's very difficult for them to find and to work with international documents and guides. So we try to promote information, scientific and best practices and so on by translating these documents. And in this we are very we are partners with SDGs in Russia and SDGs in Russia, use SDGs in Russia. So the other that I would like that we have business games and strategic session with government, and we of course we are situated in Moscow in general, because it's a Moscow University, but as our membership is from different regions, and also we work with different universities and help them to coordinate and to share our experience and help them to communicate with local government, because sometimes it's easier to organize session if you have like some representative from Moscow. So that's why we help them to organize it. The other thing I would like to show you, it's notebooks and pens. It's a practical activities. We create notebooks and pens from posters from our university, because every events have their posters, comes more. So and of course we have some city events, like we participate in Uni Eco Fest, but I would like to show you one project very old and one of the key project, our project environmental case club. And so you may see on the right side these notebooks and pens from posters and our translation of one of the guides. Why I would like to show this events and this solution for our sphere, because for us we are creating this project 7 years ago, before the SDG was published, and we this project, it's a case champion challenge, where teams from different universities participate to resolve sustainable development problems and create some solutions for sustainable development. In general, now it is only Russian championship, but we are ready to work with other partners. Why it is a good practice, because it's a possibility for us not only to find solutions and to discuss, to highlight some problems in international sphere, because we have 3 sections. The first is about urban problems in different countries. The second session is about environmental problems, when we have, for example, Aral sea problems and so on, when it's a transnational problem also. And the second, it's about business problems and environmental management. So of course we can find some solutions, but the main thing is to highlight the issue and try to start discussing it with youth people, first of all, but also with government, local governments, and some representative of different organizations. And this project helped us to contact with different governments, with different stakeholders, and it's very, very good platform for resolving these issues. If we talk about SDGs problems and represented in use in resolving and in discussing it. And the third idea for this project, it's like a platform of professionals, because now we have more than 30 applicants who talk with each other and continuing some projects, and they become professionals. So now we are like a community of and platform of environmental professional and SDG professional, youth professional. So what is about gender equality, I'll just talk about this, that we have no project about this sphere, but as we are very like equal in percentage, yeah, so we try to work with this in this SDGs and in this sphere with our partners. So we would be happy to contact with us and to have new projects. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And the next speaker in the speakers list is the representatives of the Academy of Youth Diplomacy, the Russian Federation. The floor is yours for 7 minutes. And kindly remind you about following the time limits. Thank you.
Hello, Now I represent my. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Now. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here and see you today. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Yana, and I'm project manager of Academy of Youth Diplomacy. Today, with the second speaker, Christina, we will tell you about our SDG activities in Russia, in the Republic of Tatarstan. The Academy of Youth Diplomacy is a youth organization that supports youth and youth initiatives in the field of international cooperation, which was founded in 2014 by Dilbar Sadikova. The goal of the Academy to develop multilateral cooperation of the youth of the Republic of Tatarstan with the world community. Today, the Academy unites more than 2,000 people who participate in international educational exchange programs between the Republic of Tatarstan and the international community. And one of the directions of the Academy is SDG activities. Since 2017, we have been promoting the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals by youth in the Republic of Tatarstan. For 4 years of work, we had projects of different formats, but everything was united by the living of the SDGs through experience. For example, strategy games, simulations, case solutions, group tasks, as well as translation of global experience into local solutions. So let us tell you about a few of our projects. Sustainable Development Goals strategy games. The SDG game is a game for participants of different ages, in which they can go through different stations dedicated to SDGs, solve problems related to sustainable development, earn resources which they later use to build a model of their ideal city, sustainable city which they want to see in the future. The main goal of the event is to help young people expand their knowledge of global problems and find ways to solve them. The second, lectures and educational activities. Our team conducts educational lectures and platforms in various organizations and at events, both offline and online. For example, during the Kazan Festival of Conscious Lifestyle, BioLife Fest, we organized a separate platform for local residents where visitors could share with us their wishes and questions about sustainability of the city. We helped each person think of personal steps to solve problems of sustainability and introduced local communities to which they can join for this. And in August 2020, we told Sakhalin region volunteers about the goals, and volunteers got to know what sustainable development means and why the UN considers volunteers to be SDG stakeholders. So, Christina.
Thank you, Rana. Training girls of Sustainable Development Goals multipliers in the Republic of Tatarstan. In 2019, we conducted a long-term training program course for multipliers of Sustainable Development Goals in the Republic of Tatarstan. The program was based on the principles of non-formal education, and as a result, we created a team of young people who understand the principles of sustainable development and are involved in projects on the SDGs. Today, multipliers create and carry out all education SDGs events taking into account the experience and interests of the audience of each round. Sustainable Development Week 2020. Sustainable Development Week 2020 should be singled out for mention. We focused on promoting and highlighting the experience of the Republic of Tatarstan in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. As part of the week, we held a Zoom meeting with the Deputy Director of the United Nations Information Center in Russia, organized a strategy game for students, online marathon to advance the implementation of simple action to achieve sustainable development. We proposed to the government of the Republic to take part in the marathon. We were supported by the Minister of Commissioner for Artificial Intelligence and others. My Sustainable School. The project My Sustainable School was started in 2029. It is aimed to create an understanding of the principles of sustainable development among school-age children with the subsequent creation of a community of sustainable schools to promote the sustainable development goals in the Republic of Tatarstan. The project consists of 3 main stages, each lasting 1 month. As a result of the project, last May, our participants school graduated and defended their own sustainable projects. Partnership. If you have a desire to cooperate with us, we invite you to conduct various activities as part of the Joint Sustainable Development Week. It can be online and offline.
And here are our contacts. We are waiting for your suggestions and ideas for collaboration. We hope that after today's event, we will be in touch with many of you. So thank you for your attention. Goodbye.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And the next speaker in the speakers list is the representatives of Sustainable Development Program for Young Global Leaders, Korea. The floor is yours for 7 minutes.
Hello, everyone. It is great to see you virtually in this event. My name is Shin Young, or Lily Yu, and I'm the head of external communications for SDP Young Global Leaders. We are a youth group that solves sustainability issues by developing IT solutions. And today I am here to introduce to you one of our largest and latest projects, which is Project Mapping, PPP Failure Tracker for Sustainable Development. So let's start with project overview. Project Mapping is a project that focuses on Goal 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities to Innovate Society. We are building a website that visualizes failed infrastructure, public-private partnership projects around the world on a map. So our sense of problem is in the numerous failed PPPs that are forgotten after their failures. We thought that failure cases should be integrated into data, and stakeholders must learn through it to reduce the possibility of failure in future projects. As a result, we are actively developing the ability to web crawl related data using our very own AI data crawler and collect them on the factors of PPP project failures according to the division of infrastructure sectors, regions, failure reasons, and so on. Overall, it is expected that users of project mapping will be able to find major macroeconomic variables and trends in international relations through our database and insight. So through our service, PPP investing and participating institutions are expected to quickly and efficiently acquire related insights in the future, reducing costs that have been used for data surveys or just lost in case of project failures. So our first aim for this project is to encourage PPPs in large-scale infrastructure projects, which by itself we believe could be a positive impact on sustainability. Effective PPP construction can be achieved using our map creates added value by supplying services to areas where essential services were previously scarce. It is also statistically proven that large-scale construction projects carried out with huge private capital creates jobs for local residents and lowers the regional unemployment rate. It also has a positive impact on the environment. Even if companies proceed in such processes, PPP projects follow stricter standards for environmental and social impacts than ordinary projects because of government and public participation. In particular, projects that provide renewable solutions such as renewable energy and waste to energy power plant construction accounts for a very large portion of PPP projects. And our second aim is to support accurate decision-making for PPP stakeholders, which would bring the effect of preventing future PPP failures or even accelerate the process. If you proceed with a project suitable for areas with high probability of success based on insights through our map, you'll be able to not only prevent PPP delays and cancellations, but also see the effect of advancing the end date of construction in the process of the project. So our ultimate aim is to prevent waste of resources and capital and prevent environmental damage that possible delays and cancellations could cause. So let's talk about project history. We started as a World Bank partnership group for data review and research assistance in 2019, and it was a great opportunity to collect data and construct a reliable database. Our skills development started with the open source tracking and data review on projects in developing countries, but we eventually expanded to worldwide projects analysis. And as a result, we were able to launch our own service in 2020, and we are currently in phase 4, data insight, working on the volume and quality of our data and improving our user experience. As of now, the features of our service can be divided into map and dashboard. So I will now introduce the main features of the map, then move on to the dashboard. When we first visualized our database, we focused on the map's ability to show worldwide PPP trends at a glance. So as a result, we can see the project failure rates in each region by color, the concentration by clustering markers, and the sector of subsector distinction by colors and icons. And in order to allow versatile use of our product, we aim to provide as many customizable options when using our map. So there are filters that allow viewing projects relevant to users' interest and search function for viewing specific information. And on the key summary bubble, key information about an individual project is provided in form of financial closure year, status, sector, etc. And as our aim is to collect and provide data that can be found on the open source, clicking on the URL leads you to an external website on which you can find more information. So basically the source. The dashboard is basically a user visualization tool built for supporting the utilization of collected PPP data. So the user can graphically display statistics by using filters, charts, and tables. So pie chart, bar chart, and group charts are available for customization, and filters can be used to determine graph characteristics such as legends, axis, number of data to be shown, etc. And the table on the right provides accurate data values for reference. And the aim of the dashboard is to provide accurate numerical insight to help stakeholders anticipate and avoid losses in the business process. So we also separately provide graphs related to mega trends or special themes, such as COVID-19. So where are we headed? I personally think that the beauty of IT products is that it is constantly applicable to improvements and changes. So for the last section of this presentation, I will share some of the difficulties and goals that we are facing. First of all, we have to collect more data for reliability and accuracy. In order to technically process data, you need a very large volume of project data. So we are currently working on that. And secondly, we are trying to establish more intuitive UI for connecting the dots, so analyzing the database. We are planning on providing trend reports about mega trends such as ESG and industry trends and COVID-19. And lastly, we are actively marketing, although this map is provided for free. We are advertising it for more publicity. And possible users are government officials, academic researchers, investors, or business consultants related to infrastructure. But if you're just interested in infrastructure, you can try using our map, and user feedback is very precious. So if you direct it to our contact information, we would thank you a lot. And of course, we are also open to new connections and project opportunities. Although there is no Q&A session, please direct questions or feedback or anything to my personal email, and project offers can be sent to our official email. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Just a small remark again, a reminder for you, if you want to know some context of some of our participants, you can also type to us with the Send Use Russia, and we will share with you. It's in case you couldn't manage to write down the email boxes of our participants during their presentations. Thank you again. And the next presentation will be from the Green Environment Youth Korea, the Republic of Korea. The floor is yours for 7 minutes.
Hi everyone. Did you see my presentation?
Yeah, we see. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Sun Kim, the member of the Green Environment Youth Korea, and also partner of the SDGs. I think it's a great honor to present the SDG 13th mission climate action at the NEA session. And among the numerous controversies of climate action, today I will present about the carbon neutrality. Recently, carbon neutrality has emerged as the most important topic in resolving the climate crisis, and it is also a topic that has been discussed a lot as each country's ambitious mission is imminent under the Paris Agreement. Then, what is carbon neutrality and why it is so important? Today, I'll present about what is the carbon neutrality and why we should know about the carbon neutrality. First of all, we should know about the definition of the carbon neutrality. So I will introduce about the carbon neutrality, and let's have time to find out why countries focus on the carbon neutrality and why we should focus on too. Finally, the presentation is over after finding out what Korean youth are trying to carry out carbon neutrality. As far as I know, the time allocated to me is 7 minutes. It's not a long time, but I would really appreciate it if you could focus on the content while I present it. I think everyone knows that the carbon dioxide emission is the major cause of the climate crisis. However, it would be almost impossible to completely eliminate the generation of the carbon on Earth, because the carbon is being produced at all of the human action. Therefore, we introduced the concept of the net zero. This is the reduce or offset carbon generation as much as the human-made carbon generation, and making total carbon generation zero is its basic concept of the carbon neutrality. If so, it was the previously said that human behavior produces carbon, but what behavior is the producing carbon in the large quantity? Please take a look at the circle chart. This chart shows the field where carbon dioxide was released from around the world last year. As everyone expected, the electricity production and transportation and industry account for about 70% of the total. And what these three sectors have in common is that they are closely related to energy production. And among them, they are very closely related to the thermal power generation. Therefore, for reduction and offset of the carbon dioxide, the reduction in energy demand and the improvement in energy efficiency are bound to take precedence. I have briefly explained the carbon neutrality so far, but I think there are still people who haven't realized the seriousness of the problem. So why should we pay attention to the carbon neutrality? This is the global average temperature increase scenario announced by the IPCC by the 1.5 degrees. IPCC argued that if the current trend continues, the global average temperature will rise by more than 1.5 degrees by 2013, and followed by the sharp rise in sea levels and the glacier melting every 1,000 years. And this means the extinction of the global system. This year, the IPCC unveiled several global ecosystem scenarios based on greenhouse gas emission in its AR6 report. Look at this dark red line. This dark red line is the SSP5 scenario that illustrates where global warming continues as it is now. In order to avoid the extinction of the global ecosystem, the SSP1 scenario, this is the sky blue line, SSP1 scenario that maintain 1.5 degree rise level must be reached. And the carbon neutrality should be done first before reaching SSP1. Look at this graph. The graph you see now shows the direction of arrival of the scenario according to the total emission of the greenhouse gases. And the next chart is to also show a global timeline to maintain a 1.5 degree level. The conclusion is clear and simple. I kept talking about the extinction of the Earth's ecosystem earlier, but you don't have to think hard. The carbon neutrality should be implemented to avoid extinction of your friend, family, and everything you know, and finally, yourself. Of course, many countries already implement policy for the carbon neutrality. Korea is also making effort to meet the standards, such as installing the 2015 Carbon Neutrality Committee. However, it is suffering from difficulty due to reasons such as the lack of transparency and high dependence of the uncertain technology such as the CCUS. In response, Korean youth are engaged in various activities such as holding a meeting with the Minister of the Environment to directly protest against not implementing active policy or announcing a 2040 climate neutral scenario against the carbon neutral committee scenario. Look at this chart. This is the climate neutral scenario proposed by the Korean youth. If you look at their scenario for a while, you can see there is a clear gap from the scenario proposed by the government. The left circle is the government's proposal, and the yellow circle is the youth proposal. And use our scenario based on the 1.5 degree carbon budget. What does this mean? What does this mean? I still think there is a long way to go, but there's not much time left. Carbon neutrality is a problem on our shoulder right now. We have to face problem and find solution to avoid extinction that comes to us unexpectedly. Thank you for listening. And until now, this was Sun Kim of the GY.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was really exciting and interesting. So, and the next speaker will be the representatives of the organization called NEA from Japan. The floor is yours for 7 minutes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm Keisuke Fukura and founder of NEA project, which means why don't we have in Japanese. And today I want to share our work on gender-related issues. Okay. NEA project is an advocacy project that demands better conditions for protecting and ensuring sexual and reproductive health and rights in terms of information, options, and environment in Japan. We use several online platforms to raise awareness and bring our voices to decision makers such as politicians. First of all, what is sexual and reproductive health and rights, SRHR, and why is it important to SDGs? Sexual and reproductive health is a state of physical, emotional, mental, and social well-being in relation to all aspects of sexuality and reproduction, not merely the absence of disease, dysfunction, or infirmity. And all individuals have a right to achieve that. And it includes, for example, the right to decide whether and when to be sexually active, get married, or have children. And that's the brief explanation of SRHR, and ensuring SRHR is a very crucial aspect to pursue gender equality in society. For example, when we look at the Japanese society, we still see that so many women give up from regular work once they have a child and change to non-regular work, which has less income, less stability, and less lifelong support. And of course, it's important to make an effort to ensure that women can have children and keep the work at the same time. But first of all, it's really crucial that women can choose whether and when to have a child or children so that they can protect their life plan and pursue their dreams. And actually, we can find SRHR in SDGs too. For example, goal 3.7, we can see that by 2030, we have to ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive healthcare services, including family planning, information and education, and the integration of reproductive health into national strategies and programs. In goal 5.6, it also says to ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive health and rights. But for example, when we look at family planning in Japan, it's really hard to say it's ensured. This is a table showing all the available and basic methods of family planning in the world today. And you can see that there are several contraceptive methods that women can use and highly effective. But in Japan, unfortunately, many of them are not approved to use, and even approved ones are not informed enough in sexuality education in school and relatively expensive, so that especially young women cannot afford them. It shows that the integration of reproductive health into a national strategy and program is not enough in Japan. So when we look at the estimated prevalence of contraceptive use among women of reproductive age, we see that in Japan, there are very few women who has used the contraception by themselves than in other countries. Also, for example, when we look at the access to emergency contraceptive pills, WHO recommends to sell emergency contraceptive pill at pharmacy without prescription, which is called OTC, over-the-counter use, or BTC, back-to-the-counter use. And more than 90 countries follow that today. But in Japan, you need to see a doctor, get prescription, and pay around $100 or $200, which is very hard, especially for young girls too. And in addition to that, in Japan, abortion can cost like $1,000 to $2,000, and there is no abortion pill. And basically, women need an agreement from their husband to have abortion due to the law. As it is, it's hard for women to decide about their reproduction in Japan today. So to change the situation, we started online signature campaigns with other organizations working on SRHL. And for example, more than 135,000 signatures were collected asking for better access to emergency contraceptive pill. And we got more than 42,000 signatures demanding a variety of contraceptive options in Japan. And they have been submitted to the ministers and other critical stakeholders already. And also we do some social media campaign by using hashtag to, like every time we have related discussion in the governmental level to raise the awareness and to make our voices visible in our society. Also in Japan, for example, every 5 years, we create the government creates the basic plan for gender equality, and the government collects public comments from the people. And last year, for the first time, youth-led project called男女共同参画って何ですか? Which means what is gender equality, collected more than thousands of voices from young people, and these voices and manifesto from young people were submitted to the government. And behind creating this manifesto, several young activists, including us, worked together, and we see several positive changes. For example, consideration of over-the-counter use of emergency contraception was added to not only to the 5th basic plan for gender equality, but also other 2 important governmental documents. Then 4th of October, there was a discussion in the Ministry of Health about OTC use of emergency contraception, which has been closed for the last 4 years. And we were the first time, like it was the first time that we were invited as references to the committee and could bring the result of our research with 10,000 respondents and voices of people who actually need those emergency contraceptive pills. And I believe that was such a positive and revolutionary thing. But on the other hand, we still have no idea when emergency contraceptive pill will be available at pharmacies, for example. And I felt like in many other activists might feel too, we often face that fact that the majority of decision makers are older men, and our voices are not always heard, respected, and valued. And this tendency can be seen from the bottom to the top in Japan, and I imagine many Asian countries have the similar issue too. This is the new member of cabinet introduced just 10 days ago, and we see only 3 women out of 21 ministers. and the average age is 61.8 years old, and the youngest was 44 years old. So we are one of the worst countries according to the Gender Gap Index in Politics in 2021 when it comes to gender equality, for example. And although it's not easy to break this thick wall and achieve gender equality, which is essential in many ways to achieve SDGs, I still have hope. This year, the chief of Tokyo Olympic Game Committee, who was once a prime minister of Japan, made a sexist comment saying like, women talk too much at meeting. It outrages so many people, including I and other similar age activists. So we started an online petition. The next day, he made this sexist comment, and in just a few weeks, we collected over 150,000 signatures and then submitted to the Tokyo Olympic Committee. And we received huge attention domestically and internationally. And then we could see that the chief has changed to the women who have been supporting gender equality. And we see more women inside of the executive committee too. And most importantly, we have witnessed that society treats gender equality way more seriously than before and discussed everywhere. So I believe the strength of young people to foster the implementation of SDGs is the power of being united beyond different organizations or even countries like today, and standing up together for the same big goal. When we stand up together, we can be strong enough to change the society. So let's keep working on and achieve SDGs, no one left behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And the next speaker is the representatives of the organization called Change Our Next Decade, Japan. The floor is yours for 7 minutes.
Thank you. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Let's start. Hello, everyone. I'm Kotoko Yadomaru, the president of Change Our Next Decade, called Kondo from Japan. Thank you much for this opportunity. I'd like to explain the youth solution focusing on biodiversity today. First, I'd like to explain my organization, Kondo. Our vision is creating a better society by living in harmony with nature. Our organization was established in August 2019 to act for CBD COP15 as a youth. CBD means a Convention on Biological Diversity, and we cooperated in August 2021. We were nominated by the Win-Win Sustainability Youth Award 2020. Youth organizations from all over the world that are involved in environmental activities applied for this award, and 20 out of 358 organizations were nominated. Our mission is to mainstream environmental fields in society and encourage more youth to biodiversity. We are structured by 10 people across Japan who are eager to act upon biodiversity conservation. Our addressing issue is biodiversity conservation. Biodiversity is the foundation for our life, but the IPBES Global Assessment Report said nature, biodiversity, and ecosystem functions and services are deteriorating worldwide. Also, direct and indirect drivers of change have accelerated during the past 50 years. Biodiversity loss is progressing now, so we must halt the loss of biodiversity. What are the drivers of biodiversity? There are two types of drivers. One is direct drivers, such as a change in the usage of land, sea, direct exploitation, climate change, and pollution. Another is indirect drivers, such as demographic and socio-cultural, economic and technological, institutions and governance, conflicts and epidemics. Thus, we need a transformative change. Our relevant SDGs goals, or the goal relevant to biodiversity, are SDGs 14 and SDGs 15 mainly. but biodiversity is very complicated and relevant to other issues. So many SDG goals have elements of biodiversity in their targets. This table showed the correlation between the Aichi biodiversity targets and the goals of the SDG. The Aichi biodiversity target was a 10-year global goal for biodiversity and the CBD. As you can see from this table, the targets of the Aichi biodiversity targets are involved in 1, 2, 6, 8, 12, and 17 SDGs goals in addition to 14 and 15. In the SDGs wedding cake model by Johan Lokström, director of the Stockholm Resilience Center, the biosphere is the foundation of economies and societies, and it is the basis of all. In other words, if the environmental goal is not achieved, the achievement of other goals will be affected. However, we feel that biodiversity loss has been neglected in comparison to climate change and economic growth. We believe that we need to implement balanced measures because everything is connected and is a cross-cutting issue. One of the reasons why biodiversity initiatives are neglected is that they are not well recognized. In fact, a national survey in Japan showed that 1 out of 2 people in Japan does not know anything about biodiversity. Therefore, we believe that we need to tailor our approach to the interest level of the target audience. This is a behavior change model created by Kondo. We defined 5 levels of interest rather than polarizing them into yes or no, and came up with an approach for each. For example, slightly interested is defined as people who are interested but are not willing to take action, and the approach for them is to provoke initiatives that encourage them to start an action. Based on the behavior change model, we are implementing various activities for the conservation of biodiversity. For instance, in 2020, we implemented the Japanese Youth Biodiversity Ambassador Program, in which youth from all over Japan reflected on the past 10 years of nature in their local communities and thought about the next 10 years. The report is available on our website, so if you are interested, please check it. Also, other activities include policy advocacy, public awareness, and collaboration with youth from other countries. For example, we propose our behavior change model to the Minister of Environment, Japan. In light of the above, there are 4 points we would like to emphasize. To recognize that environmental issues are important for the other social and economic issues. The second point is that to acknowledge the intergenerational equity and embed it into policy. The third point is to reinforce the balance between the countermeasures against climate change and biodiversity conservation. The last point is to promote mainstreaming biodiversity and reinforce biodiversity conservation. That's all for my presentation. Thank you for listening, and if you have a question or comment, please feel free to contact us via email or some SMS. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And the next organization to present the youth solution is the Youth for Clean Air and Climate Change Network from Mongolia. The floor is yours for 7 minutes.
So can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So hello everyone, I'm Emin and I'm from Mongolia. Today I'm representing the Youth for Clean Air and Climate Change Network initiated by the Scout Association of Mongolia. Here you can see our name. We work for air pollution and climate change issues. So the concept of a solution is firstly, we raise awareness of air pollution and climate change among youths. Then we help youths to add their participation in the process of resolving air pollution and climate change. So how do we exactly do that? Firstly, we do air visual mapping. We do air visual in the whole Ulaanbaatar and in our 4 target provinces of Mongolia, and we prepare peer-to-peer trainers who are qualified to teach about air pollution and climate change to whoever they want. And next, we do some raising awareness work, such as we create manuals about air pollution health impacts and how do we protect ourselves from air pollution and such. Next, we do online campaigns. For example, we do online training series, online summit, and online events. For example, we organized an event called 20 Days and 20 Activisms last month, and it had like different activisms each day. And we do online and offline trainings. Next, we create networking among NGOs and GOs. Scout Association in Mongolia itself works with many organizations such as World Wildlife Fund and UNICEF, People Need Mongolia and such. So sometimes we become the link between these organizations. And lastly, we take actions. For example, we planted 2,000 trees last spring in Ulaanbaatar. So how did we really start? In 2012, we started as the Air Pollution and Mapping project, which organized in 22 schools of Ulaanbaatar by Scout Association of Mongolia with the support of UNICEF Mongolia. And a year later, that during the 6th National Chamber of Mongolia, 1,000 of young participants learned about SDGs and Air Pollution and Mapping project. Then the idea of launching the UCAN initiative was started. Yeah. So how are we now? We have 14 organizations join UCAN from Ulaanbaatar and from our target 4 provinces of Mongolia. We conducted training by traveling 14,000 kilometers, including Khoj, Ulaanbaatar, the capital city of Mongolia, aka the coldest capital city of world, and the 4 provinces. And we have reached 550,000 people online through our online campaigns, as I mentioned earlier, and we have trained 300 peer-to-peer trainers and granted 3 projects in 3 different areas of Mongolia in order to support the participation of youths of resolving the air pollution and climate change. And lastly, we have 4,000 official UCAN members plus and 7,000 people who are willing to join our community. So what are the possible challenges and tackles for us? Firstly, we are youth and volunteers. It's kind of upside and downside for us. So the downside is air pollution and climate change. Sometimes it is the matter of the local infrastructure system, and we youths and volunteers cannot really take part in the decision-making process. So hopefully we grow our networking and become the decision makers by ourselves. Secondly, time and force measure. Again, air pollution and climate change is not a simple issue. It's just kind of like changed by a flick of a hand. So we need time and we need to start to take action before it gets too late. And the first measures such as coronavirus pandemic. Before coronavirus pandemic, we used to go to school by school and conduct our trainers and go to many provinces of Mongolia, but now our opportunities and chances are very limited. So how are we going to tackle this? We have to start to take action as soon as possible and remain sustainable against all of these force measures. Our correlation with SDGs is the target 3.9, reduce the illnesses and death from hazardous chemicals and pollution, because we inform our trainers and our target people about health effects of air pollution and such. Next is target 11.36, reduce the environmental impact of cities. It is connected with air pollution and climate change together. The next is responsible consumption and production, such as unnecessary energy waste and such, and plus there waste. The next is take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. UCAN vision and mission is grow our network and join global communities, combat against the air pollution and climate change stronger and together. So here is my contact information. We have a Facebook page called UCAN, and here is my work email, and we have a web page for Scout Association of Mongolia. Thank you for your attention, and it was such a great honor to be part of this session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation so much. And the next speaker is the representatives of the Youth Policy Watch, Mongolia. The floor is yours for 7 minutes.
Hi again. Okay, so now I will introduce about my organization, which is named Youth Policy Watch. So these are the outlines of my presentation. So part one is who are we and what we do, I mean our programs, and the third one is what we do for SDG. So Youth Policy Watch NGO has been actively working to improve youth participation in policy making and to build capacity among young people since 2014. Board members and executives are all young people. Our mission is to support every young individual to become independent and active and responsible citizens, and to contribute to the creation of human society with sustainable development, where youth participation at all social levels is ensured by disseminating the concepts and knowledge on human rights and democratic values. The organization works with representatives of young journalists, lawyers, students, researchers, governments, and non-governmental organizations, and international organizations. So these are the programs we are implementing right now. So the first one is Politic, and with the aim to raise the voices of young people or at the policy level. Politic and election program. In order to strengthen democracy and create good governance, Youth Policy Watch has been implementing the Young Journalists in Governance program. And we are responsible for the Youth Civic Engagement program, which aims to increase youth participation at not only policy-making level, it's also local and national level. Our last program is the open data and transparency. The program is open to all young people who want to learn to read a budget, participate in monitoring the budget, and plans to train them as peer educators and work in Youth for Youth way. So more detailedly, like Politic and election program, we organized the civil society observation for the parliament and presidential elections of 2016, 2017, and 2020 and 2021 with other youth NGOs. In addition, we conducted monitoring on presidential election campaign finance in 2017 and 2021. Politics and election program has been implemented since 2018. In scope of this program, youth debates and youth street exhibition and peer-to-peer training are held to actively push in reform of the law on political parties. Through this project, post-election, we are organizing post-election monitoring. Youth Policy Watch has been implementing phase first and second of the strengthening women and youth engagement in the electoral and political processes in Mongolia project since 2019. So within this program, Youth Policy Watch for the first time in Mongolia made an effort to create a memory of voters post-elections by implementing the project called Watch on Campaign Promises. The project created the Campaign Promises data bank with an aim to improve women and youth participation in electoral and political processes by auditing the progresses toward campaign promises, along with the effective advocacy and mobilizations to improve the political accountability and increase the active citizenry. So, as I mentioned, in order to strengthen democracy and create good governance, Youth Policy Watch has been implementing the Young Journalist and Governance program. So the program aims to strengthen good governance through training young journalists in legal and governance matters. Over 100 young journalists participated in this program, and graduates are working together by establishing alumni association. So YPW is responsible for the Youth Civic Engagement Program, which aims to increase youth participation at local and national level. On top of that, Youth Policy Watch is supervising Youth Wave Club, composed of high school and university students. So this organization aims to explore problems facing children and youth in gear areas and to improve their environment. Gear areas is the nomadic and unique town in Mongolia. So the last program is Open Data and Transparency. This is the unified online database or search engine called Open Data Lab. .mn was created using information that is open to the public throughout Mongolia. It is unique in that it can be used to search and use a single source of information, such as asset and income declarations of high-ranking government officials, informations on owned companies and elected office. We have learned from previous experience that in order to participate in and monitor policy, there is a need to establish youth oversight at the level of the implementation mechanism or budget, and to create young people with an understanding and knowledge of the budget. Therefore, starting from this year, we have started to implement the Let's Control Our Local Budget program. The program is open to all young people who want to learn to read a budget, participate in the monitoring the budget, and plans to train them as peer educators and work in a youth for youth way. The participants of the program will be creating good standard of budget control based on the information of Open Data Lab.mn electronic search system. So these are the other activities. We strive to be representative of the youth and to make our voices heard in international programs that are in line with our vision. So we had organized the advocacy activities, training and research on the adoption of the law on promotion of youth development in 2017 and law on promotion of constitutional amendments with other NGOs. About reports and researchers, we've sent our record of submitting reviews to this initiative, including recommendations on youth political rights and the political situation and what the Mongolian government legislature and executive should focus on. We've sent this record to UN Human Rights Council in 2020. So finally, we are working for and contributing for these three sustainable development goals through our programs. So thank you. That's all. Stop sharing.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And the next speaker are to be the organization called Shimmer SDGs Hub from China. The floor is yours for 7 minutes.
Hi everyone. Okay. Let me see. Hi everyone, pleased to meet you. And now I want to share my presentation to you. And then at this time, I want to share with you our problem is in different countries of Asia, how to maximize the effectiveness and the localization of the promotion of sustainable development. And as we can see, education determines the cognition and the practice trained of any society in the world. And it's one of the things to promote people in different ages, different nationalities, different education levels, and even different religions all around the world to have good sustainable development decision-making and global citizenship awareness. That's the hard things. As we can see, the form of education is the most important basic step of the early social accumulation that we currently recognize as human beings. However, in the world, Asia, and even China, our political environment, geopolitics, national conditions, and even religious beliefs are various. All the same, if we want to promote sustainable development to get long-term and effective feedback, then it is very important to for the localization and sustainable development education, I think. And education for sustainable development and global citizenship by the 2030 ensures that all learners to acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including among others through education for sustainable development and the sustainable lives, human rights, gender equality, promotion of the culture of the peace and the nonviolence, global citizenship and the appreciation of the cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. Quality education is one of the SDGs goals. In addition to this goal, it also has detailed impact measurement indicators and specific goals. In our opinion, one of the most important detailed goals is to promote the public understanding of the sustainable development goals and the understanding of the world citizenship. And now we have gathered more than 200 partners all around the world to create a sustainable awareness and a time community in China called Sustainability Impact Movers. We have reached a strategic cooperation with Maker Sustainability Consulting, a well-known local consulting company in China, and use their experience and cases in SDGs consulting for more than 200 Fortune 500 companies and government agencies to help local Chinese youth understand and practice sustainable development and go to contribute. And now we have adopted fixed frequency case for consultations, set up alumni funds and to practice the impact investment and cooperate with it and close the door exchanges with entrepreneurs to help our impact movers to learn about China's local sustainable business and impact investment and social services organizations. What is the operational logic? The first practice in the 3 months, we have influenced more than 1,200 Chinese youth to participate in the scientific cognition and action of the sustainable development. And this is currently in China, we have achieved good social influence. And for the specific, it had rated over 200,000 youth groups all around the world, and link more than 100 youth organizations. And in depth, the production of over 1,000 sustainability and cooperation social CSR training content, services more than 100 companies and social development organizations all around the world. And the third is the leaders we have led to created more than 50 influential sustainable CSR education activities and contribute with more than 300 organizations. Process 900 of the resources and the social organizations had foundations across the country to have organizations to implement best sustainable practices. In addition to understanding and implementing the SDGs goals in China, our companies, our community members and the company also actively participates in building global SDGs issues, from Glasgow COP26 to the COP15 Kunming, and to competitions and forums in cooperation with the other international organizations. You can see the presidencies. You can see that the logos of the community members. We firmly believe that the localization of sustainable development can only have the positive impact in our country, but also be exported as experience, I think. And this is our portfolio of our community, and we have our consulting company and our charity foundation. Yes, it's our alumni charity foundation, and our SaaS technology company, and our NGOs. And at the right of the logos are our owners and membership supporters, including the Forbes 30 and 30, and the G20, YEA, and the Watson Institute, and Global Shippers in China. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to show my presentation. And here is my email. And if you have any questions, please email me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the last speaker, but not the least, is the representatives of the organization called UP Global SDN from China. The floor is yours for 7 minutes.
Thank you very much. Because now my computer cannot connect to the Zoom, so my assistant in another city will help me to store the PPT. Probably we should wait a minute. Barry, are you here? Okay, thank you very much. Dear friends and colleagues and distinguished and leaders from different organizations, and it's a great honor and a pleasure for me to stand for our organization, YP Global SDN, to do this presentation. And please just turn to the next. Yes. And our organization is also initiated by a company in Shenzhen, but we also got the guidance by the Nature Education Academic Committee of China Green Development Association and the Ecological Community Development Fund of China Green Development Association. And our mission is to unite more young people in China to achieve the goals SDGs. As last speaker, CYCN said that our country, China, is trying to achieve the goal of carbon peak before 2030, and the goal of carbon neutrality before 2060. So we young people in China also working very hard to achieve 2 carbon goals. But in China, we also face a lot of challenges, just like if we just cooperate with some companies or some organizations, they probably talking about profit or how to make money, how to do the economic growth. But we also feel these challenges. How can we provide this kind of model to them? So we also help a lot of companies to transform their business model into green and sustainable and ecological model. And then they probably can make it their company to develop sustainable development. So we also do the education in China of SDGs, because just like last week, we also do the survey, and most of the students in China, they don't know about the content of SDGs. So we also try our best to help more young students understand this kind of things, and teach them how to achieve this kind of goals, and just solve this kind of problems. Please turn next activity. So we also know the natural disasters that's happening right now, but we shouldn't just only just talk. And actually, we also face these kind of challenges when we just cooperate with some companies. They say they will support our actions, but they just let us to give them the business plans or some plans, plan A, plan B, to make them to make a lot of money. But actually, we also realize that we cannot just develop in a traditional way. We should bring more young people and the company to ecological thinking, and then they can really understand what's happening right now. So in this year, we also do the forum. It's called the Youth Promoting Global Sustainable Development Forum. And we also got the influenced over probably 5 million online. And we also have this online camp and offline camp. But today I just take a six project of ours for as examples. But I will talk about the number 6 in detail later. Please turn next. Next. Yes. So we also help the enterprise and the schools to build a cooperation bridge for them, because some enterprise, they want to find some student to be to do the internship in their company. But the schools also wanted to train their student to study in the company. So we just build the bridge between the school and the enterprise. But also, we also invited some guests to schools or out of the schools to do the sharing sessions on sustainable development. And then we will impact more people to understand these kind of things. And we also do the project like waste classification and organic composting. And we will invite a lot of young students from university to be the volunteer project for sustainable development. And this is what we have been doing right now. And please turn next. But we also don't only focus on the big cities. We also focus on the rurals. So we can no longer simply use the thinking of industrialization to develop cities and villages. Last year, we take our team to the villages to do the survey, and from what we know right now, and a lot of farmers and young people in villages, they don't know about the SDGs at all, and they just don't do the garbage disposal, anything like that, and they will produce a lot of the air pollution into the sky, and they will burn the garbage in their farm. So that's why we also back to the villages to spread the content of SDGs to them. The next. These photos was taken by our team members in central cities. So So we also hope to build a community of a shared future for sustainable development in urban and rural areas. Just like I said, we want to bring the students from big cities to the villages, and we also help the young people in villages to the big cities, and then to build this kind of bridge for them to help each other and to build the shared future between urban and rural. Next one. Yes, this is the forum we have been doing. We also invite a lot of professors and some teachers to do this kind of a presentation, and we also take these actions, and we have more than 9 workstations in China right now. So based on the workstation, we will unite the companies, local companies, and the local schools, and some leaders to do the SDGs. So we also hope this is not the last time we have this session, and we also have more session, and to share our ideas and to cooperate with each other. And from my ideas, and we just hope that we can be more open and against our enemy, just like poverty, hunger, and climate change. I do really hope if you have any questions, you also can contact with me. So thank you very much. And the last sentence I would like to share to the leaders here. There are a group of people who live for themselves, and a group of people who live for others, but they don't want to live that way. And our group of people realize our ideals in the process of living for others, which is also the life we want, because our purpose is not to make money. Our purpose is to protect this generation and the next generation future. So we don't have any time to lose and waste. And I do really hope we also can be united and take actions right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Dear colleagues, all the presentations have been presented. It was highly informative and exciting for all of us. And right now, please let me present the first NEA Joint Youth Statement elaborated by the stakeholder organizations. The Statement of Northeast Asian Youth 2021. We, the participants from youth organizations in Russia, China, Japan, Mongolia, and the Republic of Korea, welcome the youth session of the 5th Northeast Asian Multistakeholder Forum on Sustainable Development Goals. We highly appreciate the UNESCOP East Northeast Asia Office for supporting this session. People on the globe are facing different hardships today, and the pandemic is exacerbating the situation. In particular, those in vulnerable positions, such as women and the disabled, are more susceptible to this threat than the majority. The youth is not an exception. The youth of those who are under 30 has yet to be recognized as an independent constituency in many places. That's why this youth session has been held in order to collect the voices of the youth in Northeast Asia. The youth organizations from 5 countries discussed the progress and challenges regarding the 6 Sustainable Development Goals and presented the most successful and efficient youth solutions to accelerate its implementation further. By this time, despite the efforts made by varying levels of civil society, challenges in gender and education inequalities are widening amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Climate disruption and degradation are worsening, with future generations facing the most significant risk of unprecedented calamities. We cannot achieve the Sustainable Development Goals thematically without addressing the agendas in governance, education, gender equality, climate change mitigations, and biodiversity preservation. During the pandemic, we see that sharing experiences and lessons learned to advance the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda becomes of greater importance for the global community, especially youth. Given the discussions in the youth session, we call for all the stakeholders to collaborate to address the prominent challenges in the following four main sectors. Over gender and education. Issues still exist in diverse forms, and some of them worsened during the pandemic. We still see the problems such as gender imbalances in essential positions, harassment in job hunting, insufficient education and facilities for sexual and reproductive health and rights, and fewer females majoring in science. The pandemic puts the youth and females and disadvantaged groups in even more difficult situation. The civil societies, including youth-led organizations, have been combating the situation by hosting alignment activities, advocating for policy changes, and providing educational programs for either students or teachers. To further improve the situation, we call for all the stakeholders to further scrutinize issues around gender and education, including unconscious biases, to reassess the existing regulations and educational curriculums regarding gender and sexualities, to recognize and promote education for sustainable development. Over the environment, various life-threatening environmental issues have worsened during the pandemic. The drastic increase of single-use wastes, better social awareness of waste management systems for reuse and recycle, and severe air pollution due to persistent emission of greenhouse gas have led to irreversible destruction to the environment. The civil society movement has grown profoundly with the young generation raised awareness of climate change and the preservation of biodiversity. To eradicate the basic hindrance for a sustainable environment, we call for action to all the stakeholders. To establish a more stringent and holistic monitoring system to protect sea life with a particular focus on oil spill risk assessments. To carry out a vulnerability assessment and regional strategies in need to address climate change. To raise public awareness of the issues stated above, to the civil society, to require collective work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions based on the Paris Agreement of UNFCCC, as well as to realize the coexistence of people and nature. Over the governance, there is still a case of having not an integrated follow-up system on long-term goals for SDGs at the national level and a weak multi-stakeholder engagement mechanism for inclusiveness and integration in countries. Meanwhile, the concept of SDGs was used without thoughtful consciousness of human rights and the meaning of sustainability itself. Today, funding and public participation in disseminating sustainability-related programs are at stake due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Understanding these current circumstances, we demand all stakeholders to establish a comprehensive policy coordination system for SDGs implementation with a multi-stakeholder engagement mechanism at the local and national level, practically including the young generation as stakeholders. To enhance the access and opportunities for the public to participate in civil society mechanisms regarding the understanding and implementation of SDGs. To expand and institutionalize the space for youth organizations and young leaders to engage in the active decision-making process. In this regard, we reaffirm the importance of reflecting the youth perspective and their field experiences in the thematic areas of SDGs implementation. Along with the forum, a youth statement on the situation of sustainable development will be subsequently presented. We look for the future where the young generation can strengthen their active participation in the global community and positively inspire others to make our world a better place. Thank you for your attention. Dear colleagues, we are about to finish, and right now it is a high time for all of you to present your ideas, any thoughts, if you have so. So please feel free to use this time and to speak freely.
Yeah, I also want to thank everybody for coming here, and I see some representatives of civil society group here, Denise and Masaki-san. If you want to say some words about this youth session, you are also welcome. And I think it was a very productive session. We learned a lot about other organizations and solutions in Northeastern Asia. So yes, thank you very much. And I see Denise. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you all, everyone. I'm so happy to have for the youth session for the first time. And it is actually for me, it's quite touched a lot of, presentations from all of you. So even though some people think this is not quite satisfied with them, but please, remember this is the first time together, all of us, right? So probably we can improve, next year, right? Every year we will have this kind of process. So hopefully I can meet you next year again. And an event next Friday, we will have a CSO session. Please just, I want to just invite all of you to the CSO session to share your ideas with another civil society activist in 5 countries. Thank you so much. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank
so,
you.
If there are any questions or considerations, we have 2 minutes left, so the floor is yours. Okay, it seems to be no comments.
Masaki, probably you would like to tell something.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Masaki Inaba. I'm the Japanese national focal point for the this how to say the civil society session for the this Northeast Asia region. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for valuable input for this regional SDGs forum, and of course that we as a civil society working together with the youth constituency and to renovate our efforts for SDGs in this Northeast Asian region. So thank you very much for your great participation, and also thank you very much for the contribution. And we would like to work together with you for the SDGs forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I add? Can I?
Yeah,
yes,
sure.
of course.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Kang Dong-yeol from SDGs Korea, and I am network manager of SDGs Korea. And thank you for preparing this kind of wonderful sessions, especially my colleagues from Russia and all around the Asia. And I hope maybe next year we can invite some youth delegates from DPRK, also Hong Kong and Macau, and even Taiwan to achieving more inclusive Asia. And we can beyond the elder generation's interests, right? We are youth, so we do not consider about our personal or individual interests, right? So because we are future generations, so we can aiming more inclusive and more wide future, and we can cross the borders. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time and inputs. One of my students is here. Hi, Suga. Sengbeno.
Thank you very much.
You. Anybody else? If not, okay, the final word for me, or Irina, you also wanted to.
No, you can go ahead. I said.
Okay. So
part.
the final words from me. So on my personal behalf, and I suppose on behalf of the Sun Youth Russia, we really appreciate that all of you joined us at this first ever NEA Youth Session. It was, I would say, a great experience for all of us, for me personally, for our organization, for all of us. Again, so, and I personally believe and I hope that this forum, this session will be an enormous step for all of us to communicate further, because once we decided to organize this session, the main point was to provides all of us with an opportunity to declare ourselves, to declare our activities, to declare our ideas, and so any thoughts that we have during our activities to foster the SDGs implementation. And right now we are kind of get acquainted with each other. We know each other better. And again, one more time, I will say it. I really hope that we will communicate further. And on behalf of the STEM Youth Russia, again, we thank all of you for joining, and we are looking further to cooperate with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we have a picture?
Yeah, let's make a picture.
Yeah.
Sure. And we ask,
like
in this
to
case, all of the participants to turn on your cameras.
For achieving
Yes,
SDGs.
SDGs.
Yeah. Yes, this shape
Yes,
looks like SDG hill. So
Irina, will you make?
Yeah, I will make 1, 2, 3, shot. Again. 1, 2, 3, shot. And one more time. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, ready.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, all of you.
thank you very much, and
Thank you very much.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Maxime, Arina, you did a good job. Great job.
Yes, great job. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
See you next Friday. Oh yeah, no, both of you to see you Monday first.
Yeah, see you on Monday.
Monday first. Bye.